This is episode 82 of Pinnacle FC. Gareth Wheeler, Jake Osgathorpe with you, looking ahead to the weekend that will be across European football's biggest and best domestic leagues. We're recording this podcast on Wednesday, which means that we're still basking in all the glory, all the spotlight that Bodo Glimt has received in recent days. They advance in the Champions League. Jake, I think you tipped on one of our Champions League podcasts that things wouldn't turn out or go chalk. Just, it wouldn't be as straightforward, playing around here in the Champions League, and you were spot on. Not just Inter going out. I mean, we're recording this before Juventus Galatasaray. I mean, we could see all the Italian sides out of the Champions League at this stage. That's got to be a little bit of a surprise. But, the Italian sides, I think Serie A has been a very competitive league. It's just been, in this competition, it's been a little bit of a nightmare, hasn't it?
Yeah, big time. And especially when you got Inter, who obviously made the final last season as well. But having said that, I mean, they both Italian teams that played in the Club World Cup, they were poor showings. I do think that while the Italian league is more competitive in itself, I think it's getting further away from the likes of the Premier League and La Liga in terms of quality and ultimately money. Like that's what it comes down to. There's not as much money going into that league, which means that they can't keep up with the big spenders. Even in Germany, I mean, the way in which Bayern Munich spend and obviously Dortmund do it in a slightly different way, but very still, get quite a lot of revenue coming in. It's it's starting to see a bit more of a divide. And if we do lose all of the Italian clubs at this stage, I mean, yeah, that's a sorry state of affairs for Serie A.
Yeah, we'll get more into that on the next Champions League podcast, but it's worthwhile to bring up. We've been on Bodo Glimt for quite some time. They're really entertaining in the Europa League as well. I think what we're seeing, and this is a huge factor, like Bodo Glimt hasn't played a domestic game since November. Like, they're fresh. We spoke about how they could just have that one singular focus, which is on the Champions League. They beat some big teams in the process, including Man City and Atletico Madrid. But that's what we're seeing right now, especially these sides that played in the Club World Cup. Like, there's some baked-in fatigue playing
100%.
weekend, midweek. The sides that are just playing sporadically, just weekend football, or in Bodo Glimt's case, just being completely well rested. And the way that teams are managed these days as well, like, they're a very well managed team. And if you have time to prepare and practice, it ends up paying off. Even when we're looking at like the Premier League right now, like last year was Newcastle that didn't have European football. They went straight back in the Champions League. This year it's been a struggle. Now we see a side like Manchester United, like pushing for a Champions League spot. They're playing the minimum 40 matches all season long, and they look fresh week in, week out, and inevitably, oftentimes, that's enough to see them over the line. It's just something when you're looking at the markets on a week-to-week basis, that the fixture list, the schedule absolutely matters. And I just think right now, Jake is playing a significant role in terms of where we might be finding value for certain sides on a weekly basis as well.
100%. Yeah, this is the part of the season where every team that plays in Europe is basically playing twice a week. So after this playoff round, we've got a midweek Prem round next week. Then you've got Champions League first legs. So it literally is non-stop, and in between that there's Copa del Rey semi-finals next week, which I'm going to be touching on when we hit La Liga. And yeah, I think it certainly provides a betting edge. And yeah, I think Bodo are a great example, because a lot of people would look at it and go, well, they're out of practice, because you want to stay in shape, you want to stay fresh, you want to keep momentum going, ball rolling, you want to play fairly regularly. No, you give a team that's fit and well trained and well maintained, you give them a good week to prepare. Not just prepare physically, but also tactically to how to play against an opponent. Like, we see it in American sports all the time. The amount of detail that goes in to stopping a certain run block, or all those kind of things. If you give a team so much more opportunity and time to do that, it's a massive advantage. Whereas obviously going into those two legs, they had a massive game against Juventus in Serie A. Then they had another game in Serie A as well that they had to game plan for. So the head's spinning in certain cases. With Bodo, like you said, one focus. Be really interesting to see how deep they go. I don't know what the draw looks like, who they're going to get, but no one's going to want to head up to the Arctic Circle plastic pitch. That is for certain.
Yeah, no kidding. And a side that plays good attacking football as well. So it's just rewards. We're not going to be covering Norwegian football or anything like that in this podcast. Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, and Bundesliga, and anything else. All the markets that we use are courtesy of Pinnacle, BetSmart, Bet Pinnacle. We do have midweek football in the Premier League. You mentioned Copa del Rey in Spain upcoming next week. So that may have an influence on what we like, or maybe some of the picks and plays for this week's podcast. I'm coming off a week with a little bit of a profit. That was good to see. I did warn, like, all the ones that I'm putting on my big board, they're not playing through. So bet on this game, and all of those matches came through in cash. So it's not just the ones that we recommend in the end, it's the details and insights that we share throughout the podcast as well. So let's dig in and start off in the Premier League this weekend. What's catching your eye, Jake? I don't believe there's been a managerial change this week, so little bit more.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, we're recording this on Wednesday. Who knows? There still could be. I even just the way that they performed last week and the way that things are going for Spurs. How long does Igor Tudor stay at his job? He's been there for all of one match and things still don't look good. All right, what are you seeing in terms of the board this week in the Premier League? There's one game I really like and a couple other leans, but that's about it for me in the Prem.
Yeah, I've got a few leans. Starting with Friday, because Wolves versus Aston Villa, it's not a direct derby. Villa's derby is Birmingham, Wolves' derby is West Brom. But because neither of those two have been anywhere near the Premier League for such a long time, this has developed into quite a strong derby/rivalry, and we've seen a lot of cards in recent meetings. So across the last 9 head-to-heads, there have been at least 4 cards on 8 occasions, with an average of 5.9 cards per game. So that says to me there's going to be fireworks here. You've obviously got Wolves bottom of the table. They're still scrounging around trying to get as many points as they can. They're not far off breaking Derby's tally. I mean, they need 2 more points, but they'll want to try and get off the bottom. And obviously they can do huge damage to Aston Villa potentially if they get a result here, because Villa are pushing for Champions League. So there's a little bit of friction there. I was looking at the card markets, bookings. You got over 4 bookings is actually plus money at plus 112, which was a bit of a surprise. But I understand why when I see the referee appointment is Craig Pawson. He's averaged just 2.3 cards per game. So it's a rotten appointment for a good potential card game. But I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt because Pawson has shown that he can come up with the goods. I mean, everyone remembers the Liverpool-Man City game a couple of weeks ago.
Like how you put that. The referee, the match official, coming up with the goods.
He's got,
I love it. I love it. Go ahead.
There are some games where they just don't come up with the goods. They just forget their cards. They leave them in the locker room. But the last time we saw him, he showed 2 yellow cards, 1 to each team. But the time before that, it was again the City-Liverpool game. I think it was 5 yellows, and there was obviously that red at the end for Dominic Szoboszlai. Kind of got very heated, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him be forced to get his cards out here, because I think there's going to be a great opportunity to get on side. I mean, Wolves are the 4th most carded team in the entire division. They've picked up 63 cards this season, and Aston Villa are actually the best card drawing team at 68. So if you can get a card handicap that has Wolves somewhere around even money, maybe with a half a card start, I'd be looking at taking that. Oh yeah, we're getting that on Pinnacle. Actually, it's just come up now. So Wolves with half a card start at minus 113 is probably a bet I'd look to make, given that how Villa have drawn so many this season. So that was kind of what I was looking at with this one. But one of my big swings, and I think I'm ready to swing big, is to back West Ham to win at Liverpool at plus 654. I've seen enough from West Ham in the last 5-6 games to suggest that they are more than capable of causing Liverpool so many problems. Liverpool looked all over the place in the first half against Nottingham Forest last weekend. It was actually their worst first half performance since 2015, according to the stats and the data, which was Stoke. Everybody remembers that one when I think it was 6-1, final game of the season. They conceded 12 shots in the first half. That's the most they've ever conceded since that point. And they were very lucky to come away with a win. It was a smash and grab at the end, really. And West Ham, exactly the opposite. I mean, they were utterly dominant against Bournemouth, over 3 expected goals, and limited Bournemouth to literally nothing, and that's just another game of a similar ilk where West Ham are creating an abundance of chances, looking much tighter defensively, but not quite coming up. I mean, against Manchester United, they held United at bay very, very well until the very last kick. And yeah, I think this West Ham team are very dangerous with the forward players that they've got. And let's not forget, Nuno's got a decent track record at Anfield. Last season, he took Nottingham Forest there. They won 1-0. They were the only team to win at Anfield last season. He also held them in the reverse fixture as well, the champions. So his style of play suits playing against Arne Slot. Yeah, I've just been bold here because I think if West Ham are going to get a result, I think it's going to be a win at plus 654. But the handicap at plus 1.25 is plus 105. I definitely would send people towards that if they want a safer play because I really do think this is a good opportunity for West Ham to get a result.
Okay. Wow, I didn't expect that. Away at Anfield, what a result that would be for West Ham. It kind of plays into the fact that I think we both think that West Ham are moving in the right direction and will inevitably find safety. But man, a plus 654, that is a significant play by Jake Osgathorpe. Just really quickly on Wolves Villa, this was a game that I want to get involved with as well from a couple different perspectives. I think Wolves can keep this competitive. Villa haven't been very good away from home. Their games have been very low scoring as well. You can get half a goal in the handicap, and that plays at minus 103. That's in a bettable range for me. But I think that the better play in this game is just backing the under. I know the total's just at 2.5. You can get the under at minus 104. Aston Villa in the Premier League have played their last 7 or 8 games to the under. And it hasn't really been relatively close. The XG, the expected goals against numbers have been incredibly low. And all of a sudden, Wolves has skewed towards being an underside as they've kind of righted some of the wrongs and righted the ship a little bit as well. They've gone under in 6 of their under 2.5 in 6 of their last 8 games. And the only 2 games that went over, they played Chelsea and Arsenal. I mean, Aston Villa scored 38 games across 27 Premier League games on the season, and their data, their numbers, just from an attacking perspective, not that good. And they have a soft underbelly in that midfield because they're so thin due to injuries and absences right now. So these derby games, they've been typically played close. It was 1-0 the first time that these two sides played at Villa Park. I just think that under is the best way to approach this game at minus 104. This is one of the 2 games that I'm definitely going to be involved in this weekend in the Premier League. Nice. Anything more there, Jake, or any other plays across the Premier League this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I had Leeds plus 3/4 down against Man City, but the line has since moved to plus 1, and that is very tempting. Very tempting. I mean, we've been banging the drum about Leeds at Ellen Road all season long. Coincidentally, they do their best work when it's late at night or later. I speak to Leeds fans in the office and they tell me they wish they play at 8 p.m. every single week. Unfortunately, this is 5:30, but it's still going to be dark when it finishes, so maybe they get an extra boost there. But for whatever reason, it just lifts the crowd. Maybe it just gives the crowd a few hours to get drunk. I don't know.
Like me in my 20s doing my best work at night. So
yes, yeah, exactly. But I don't know if I want to get against City at this moment in time. They've looked very, very good. And Leeds they were very good at Villa. But yeah, I just thought interesting that the lines moved in City's favour. I'm very close to pulling the trigger on that actually, because I do think Leeds will keep it close at the very least. But I think Man United -1 on the handicap on Sunday is a decent bet against Crystal Palace. I think we're at the point now, Palace got that big win last week against Wolves, where we are going to see them completely disregard the league for the rest of the season and focus on winning the Conference League. That is ultimately the more valuable prize. They are, in my book, they are safe now. They're on 35 points, they're 10 points clear. They probably need 1 more win. They'll or 3 more points. They'll grab 3 draws from now to the end of the season. But their priority has to be the Conference League. They've got a big game on Thursday against the Bosnian side Zrinski, which is a tie that's in the balance. It's 1-1. They have to go out and win that to qualify. And I just think we'll see a tired Crystal Palace team on Sunday or a rotated one. And Manchester United have shown quite a lot recently. As we know, they're on a very good run of form. Is it 5 wins in 6 with 1 draw? They are flying at the moment.
Dude still can't get his hair cut, man. They just can't. They can just
They're going to do that for the rest of the
can't go
season.
forever,
They're going to win 4 in a row and then just draw. Yeah. Yeah. He's going to be at Old Trafford taking up 6 seats with his hair by the end of the season.
Sideshow Bob, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Manchester United have got more than enough. Like you said, they have the benefit of a full week's rest. Well, nearly full because he played on Monday. But no midweek football is huge, and it just means those players that are excellent will going to be fit and firing for this. And they've got a massive dangled carrot of Champions League football. I mean, they're 4th in the table, 3 points off Aston Villa heading into the weekend, and only 3 ahead of Liverpool in 6th. So they really have to keep the foot down when it comes to these kind of games, and I think they will. I won't be surprised to see them win this fairly comfortably, given how poor Palace have been recently. Okay,
just one other. I agree with your sentiment on Leeds. That was kind of one of my leans. Brentford, their price away at Burnley has come down to -128 from -135 last night. I look, it was a bad week at the office last week for Brentford, but playing away at Burnley isn't something that I'm going to shy away from. I'm just going to let the market settle and see what that number ends up at, but nothing right now. Just the one automatic play in the Premier League. It's making my board, so famous last words, but how can anyone not play Fulham at home against Spurs this weekend? Spurs are, okay, they're depleted. A new manager, which I'm really not sure about this hire. The mentality around the club, everything to do with Spurs right now is absolutely toxic. I looked at that 11 that they played against Arsenal and was kicking myself at, by kickoff that I hadn't made a pro-Arsenal play far earlier. This side is nowhere near good enough. Fulham are a really good team. Like, their attacking options, their balance in the team, their depth at certain positions, it's all vastly superior to that of Spurs. You take away the name Tottenham, they're a side that's rightfully in a relegation battle. Romero's suspended. Danso's out as well at center back. Udogi's out. And this goes, and the number of injuries that they have in attack is crazy as well. They're just completely unbackable. Fulham went to Sunderland, a difficult place to play, and came away with a 3-1 result. By the way, I was strongly backing the overs. I think it was at 2.25, which didn't seem, or 2, I think it actually was last week. I like this Fulham side. Plus 112, Jake. Plus 112. I mean, this for me is a no-brainer. Again, if it was anyone but Spurs, this would be a minus number for sure. But the fact that you're getting plus money, backing Spurs or Fulham in this game, Spurs are being mocked by Norwegian politicians in terms of their economic approaches being Spursy. This is an automatic play for me, backing Fulham at home against Spurs this weekend.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. The price is, it's a strange. Like you said, if you just covered up the name and put the data in the results, then you would be a lot shorter. But it has to be said. I mean, the last 10 Premier League matches across the last 10, Tottenham have picked up the fewest points of anybody in the league. So that's less than Burnley, less than Wolves. There's 7 points from 10 games, and they're on a 9-match winless run. So not only are they bad, but they're low on confidence, and they've got a very soft underbelly. Which is not a very good combination. And I also think that Marco Silva's style of football is well suited to dealing with Igor Tudor's style of football. Tudor likes to play an intense high press. Marco Silva's got the technicians to beat the press quite comfortably. And also he's got a very good striker in Jimenez who can negate the press altogether and just hit the ball up to and hold it up. So, I'm joining you on that one. I like Fulham to win at the prices. And
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, if results go the way I think they're going to go this week, then Tottenham will be in the relegation zone very, very soon. Because I also think that Nottingham Forest have got a very good chance of beating Brighton this weekend. I've been very impressed with Forest. Yeah. It's only 2 games under Vitor Pereira, but we know that they've got a good group of players. They've got a good spine, a good core. And the way in which they dismantled Fenerbahce away from home last week in the Europa League was a huge surprise to me. They won the shot count, something like 22-6. They won the XG battle 2.8 to 0.6, and this was in Fenerbahce's backyard. And then they carried that on in the first half against Liverpool, won the XG battle, won the shots battle, won the shots on target battle, more big chances than Liverpool. And the second half, Slot made a few changes and it kind of stopped them a little bit in their tracks. But very impressed with what they did. And they've got basically the opportunity in midweek to rest in the second leg. So I think they're going to be fit and firing for this game against Brighton. And Brighton, they were gifted a win last week, let's be honest, against Brentford, because they went 1-0 up fairly. They were the better team out of the blocks. And then Nathan Collins makes an absolute horrific error, gives Danny Welbeck a second goal, and it's kind of curtains. But Brentford were getting back into the game at that point. And it was a much needed win for Brighton. It stemmed the bleeding a little bit, but I think Forest are a good team, and I think they'll be able to go there and get a result. So Forest wins at plus 254. You can take them plus a quarter on the handicap at plus 108. I'll be having a nibble on both.
That was my other lean, Forest plus a quarter of a goal on a handicap at plus 108.
Why don't we just do the anti-Spurs parlay? If you did West Ham to win, Forest to win, and Fulham to win, plus 5,559. And then Spurs are in major trouble. I might have £1 on that just for, or $1, just for fun.
So are you going to call this the Spursy parlay? Is that where you're going to?
Well, hopefully he doesn't lose.
Yes. Right. If it's a Spursy parlay, then it's an automatic loser. So yeah, let's stay away from that entirely. Well done. To the Liga we go.
Whoa!
You have something else?
Yeah, we can't glide past the Arsenal-Chelsea game.
I glided right past.
Did you? Oh,
yes.
I think there's goals in this one. I think this could be really entertaining. Over 2.75 is the line.
This is Arsenal playing a big game. I just have zero faith in Arteta, his approach to games like this. I think it's a game that they don't want to lose rather than go out and win.
Oh, they have to win the home games. They have to win the home games.
I understand that, but this is Mikel Arteta that we're talking about. I remember when Liverpool went there, what was it, back in January? Snorefest, like completely non-event. And I'm just not. I think Chelsea, after a little bit of a wobble, conceding some cheap goals, Cucurella, I think he's a big miss for their team. I can see this one being. I can. Is he back in? I can see this being tight and cagey, blah. But you can go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the opposite. I think Chelsea, we saw this game in the Carabao Cup second leg, but it was a weird game because it was a second leg and Liam Rosina kind of just basically played for a draw until the 75th minute, and then he was trying to get an equaliser. They can't afford to do that this time around. They're going to be all at it. And Arsenal, they can hurt Chelsea in so many ways. This is a really soft Chelsea team. I think they'll have too much for them. I think Arsenal will win. I don't mind Arsenal winning both teams to score, to be honest. But Rossini's games in charge of Chelsea have been so high scoring. I mean, 5-1, 3-2, 3-1, 3-2, 3-2, 3-1, 2-2, 4-0. I think they're averaging over 3.3 goals per game. And then you factor in Arsenal's kind of upturning scoring. I mean, they scored 4, scored twice at Wolves, 4 against, admittedly, it was Wigan, scored 3 against Sunderland, 4 against Leeds. 2 against United, so I think this could be quite a high-scoring, fun game. And this is Arsenal's last big test, really, until they go to the Etihad. So they really need to win this, and they have the added pressure of playing second again, which I think is quite interesting. But I think we're going to see quite a high-scoring game, a bit of an entertaining game, maybe similar to what we saw last weekend against Tottenham. But obviously, Chelsea have just a little bit more quality than Tottenham.
Cucurella did miss out last week, hamstring injury against Burnley, and I believe
did he play the week before?
I believe, against Leeds. Yes, he did. So, they need to put Gusto on the left hand side. Fofana is also suspended for this game this weekend, which maybe plays into your pro Arsenal goals approach at the very least.
I mean, they might cover this line on their own. Arsenal. I could see them scoring 3 against Chelsea. It wouldn't be a surprise.
I'm glad that you have faith in the manager of Arsenal. I just don't. La Liga, let's go. What's going on in Spain?
Yeah, well, we talked at the top about schedule and tight schedules and, where your priorities kind of lie. And I think we've got an opportunity at a really big price to take on Atletico Madrid. They're playing away at Oviedo, and Oviedo are rubbish. So we are taking a big chance here. But I mean, it's just an awkward sandwich because they had the big Champions League game against Club Brugge. They came through that
awkward sandwich.
Yeah, it's not quite a European sandwich. Last week's game was a European sandwich with the Champions League either side. This is just awkward, like Champions League, and then they've got a Copa del Rey semi-final. And I know they're 4-0 up in the Copa del Rey semi-final, but they'll know that Barcelona are more than capable of winning 4-0 against them. So they're going to have to be right at it as they head to the Camp Nou. And I think this is an opportunity for Simeone to rest. And the way in which the league's shaping up, like they're going to cruise into the top four if they just pick up probably another, I don't know, 15 points, something like that, which they can do all that at home. And away from home anyway, they've been really poor. 3 wins in 12 away matches this season, 4 defeats. Last time we backed against them was after the Copa del Rey semi-final first leg against Rayo Vallecano. That landed. So let's take it again. Let's take Oviedo plus 3/4 of a goal on the handicap at even money, and also Oviedo to win at plus 478. They were one of the teams, we were chatting beforehand, they were one of the teams, Oviedo, that really shafted me last week because they scored a 93rd minute equaliser against Real Sociedad, which denied me a plus 300 play. But it showed fight and courage, and yes, they're bottom of the league, but they're still trying to grind it out. Their last home game was a narrow defeat to Bilbao. Before that, they beat Girona, so they've got a little bit of recent form. But yeah, this is more about Atletico Madrid and just the fact that we might see some Unai Emery-esque throwing of league games here, just to try and keep his best team fresh, which is un-Simeone-like, but everything coming out of the club is exactly the same. The club up the hierarchy want him to win a cup. They're not bothered about league position. They don't care if they finish 4th. 5th is probably going to be enough for Spain to get another Champions League spot this season, given how poor Italy have been. Like everybody in the hierarchy is basically saying, win the Copa del Rey. Like, we don't care what happens. You have to deliver a trophy, which makes sense. I mean, he's the highest paid manager in Europe. He needs to deliver some more silverware. But yeah, that could lead to a betting angle here and a potential edge with them not being fully at it.
My initial feel was Atletico Madrid to win, and both teams have scored no in this match. Just because Oviedo, they played some better football as of late, but they have 5 home goals on the season again. And if Atletico Madrid, and they've been completely unreliable away, if there was a time, it would be in a game like this. But no bet for me. That was just my initial feel, and.
Yeah,
The nil-nil is because that's a decent number, like plus 178.
Yeah, the 0-0 is a big runner. I mean, Oviedo, they've only lost 1 of their last 7 home league games. 4 have finished 0-0. So, like, taking the under might be a way in here if Atletico just cruise and Oviedo can't do anything in forward areas. But yeah, I think it's going to be quite potentially a good opportunity, like I said, given how the fixture list has fallen.
Yeah. I do like the board in Spain this week. Anything else for you?
Yeah, I've got one more. Then you can rattle off. I like Elche on the handicap against Espanyol. Elche, they're down in 17th, so you look at that and think, oh, they are really struggling. But at home, it's anything but. 8th best home team in the league this season based on results. 5 wins, 6 draws, only 2 defeats. Both defeats came against Villarreal, who obviously 3rd in the league, Barcelona leading the league. The process is very good. Underlying process is good at home. Create plenty of chances. You're talking about 1.7 expected goals in forward areas. And I mentioned it last week about Espanyol. Like they've finally been knocked off 6th spot. It took ages, but they went into the winter break having won 5 straight league games. But since they've come back, they're winless in 8 and they've lost 6 of those. So they've just come out of the break. Like they must have, I don't know, did they eat too much Christmas turkey? I don't know. But they've been awful, and they've lost 3 straight away games, conceded 3 or more in all 3 of them. So I think that we can get Elche, like they're plus 143 to win the game. It's a bit of extra security with a money back, half money back if it's a draw by taking them on the handicap, which I think is a very smart play. It's going to make my top 5 this one.
What about an overs play in this game? It's set at 2.5. I mean, both these teams have been over merchants. You mentioned that the chances that Elche creates at home, like Espanyol, I documented this last week. They've been well over 2.5 goals over the last 2 months. Like every game, there's like 4, 6. There were 6 goals in a winner against Atletico Madrid for me last week. It's just 2.5. I know it's La Liga. I know that the totals are typically more often than not skew under, but this is an over game for me. Over 2.5 at plus 103. I really like that play. I'll just run through what I like. there's no way that you can back Levante at home. But they're playing Alaves, who have scored 7 goals away from home and conceded 17. But their data and what they actually create is much better than that. Levante has 1 home win. They're dreadful. And I just look at Alaves. If you want a little bit of insurance on the handicap, which is a draw no bet, it's at 0 at plus 104. It's a really good bet to get your weekend started right on Friday, from where I sit. Barcelona, we keep on talking about how good of a team that they are defensively at home, by analytics, by actual outcomes. Barcelona are an excellent home side. They've only conceded 5 goals on the entire season, and they've the lowest expected goals against at home as well. Moreno's still out for Villarreal. Barcelona to win and both teams to score, no. It seems like an automatic play now. They're like a Wheeler special waiting to happen all the time at home, but I won't quite go all the way there. Both teams to score, no. Barca win at plus 192. Book that. That's going to be part of my board this week as well. And I know that Betis didn't work out for you last week. I still think that there's some value. There's some juice to be there. It's actually moved out to minus 127. I'll still be making that play against the Sevilla side, who are down in numbers significantly. They have players out through suspension, injury. They're just a poor team away from home. A little bit of a rivalry match here. I like that. And maybe my favorite play in La Liga this weekend is Mallorca and Real Sociedad over 2.25 at minus 114. Sociedad is both teams to score for Sociedad has played in 10 matches in a row. And meanwhile, Mallorca, they're not like this defensive team anymore. There's been a lot of goals in their games. They're top half in home goals, scored with 19 on the season as well. So, over 2.25 at minus 114. This is making my board as well. So a lot to like about the La Liga board this weekend. Anything to add on that, or shall we move things over to Serie A?
No, I like the last one. I like that a lot. I think Mallorca, they've gone over the line in all the last 5 home games. There's been a lot of goals recently for them. And like you said, Sociedad has been red hot for goals. It's been so good.
Yeah. So there you go. Those are my plays in La Liga. All right. Serie A, it's going to be lighter for me. A couple of good games. Roma Juventus is this weekend, by the way, and Juve looks in a world of hurt. Like, with Bremer going out through injury again, earlier in the season, they were a nightmare without him, and now he's out through injury again, and they're likewise a nightmare. Still, I have very little faith in Juve and anything that they're producing right now. Anyways, you can start there. You can go elsewhere. It's up to you, Jake.
No, we'll start there because this is quite a big game in the Champions League race. Given, as we said, given Italy's shortcomings in the European competitions, it might only be 4 places for them. So Roma 4th, Juventus 5th heading into the weekend. There's 4 points between them. If Roma win this, then all of a sudden it puts a real big cushion between themselves and Juventus in terms of the Champions League. I think they will win this. This is a bad spot for Juventus to find themselves in. They're coming off the back of grueling defeat in Turkey, and then follow that up with a home loss to Como. Then they've got to try and fight back in midweek. We're recording this Wednesday. They play obviously later today for the second leg, and then they have to face Roma away from home, which is one of the tougher places to go. 9 wins in 13 home games for Gasparini's side. They've looked very controlled, I just think they're a better team. They obviously they don't have the playoff round in the Europa League. They finish in the top 8, which is a huge advantage. I think the price is too big for Roma to win, really. It's plus 168 just for them to win, which means you can actually back them draw no bet at minus 116, which makes so much sense to me. Or you could split and take 1/4 of a goal at plus 127, which is half your bet on Roma win, half your bet on draw no bet if you want a little bit of a bigger price. But I think it's going to be a very tough game for Juventus. And they're conceding so many chances and goals at the minute. And like you said, with Bremer out, that's only going to be, intensify even more. And Roma have plenty of good technicians at the top end of the pitch.
Okay. Anything else for you in Italy?
Yeah, I have one more play. I'm trying to decide which way is best to attack it, but it's the Inter versus Genoa game. Obviously, Inter are embarrassed by Bodo Glimt. We've got a nice looking goal total here at 2.75, where you can back the over at minus 112. And I've been banging the Genoa goals train drum there's a train and a drum for a long time.
Did you know what? It's funny the way that this works. The over is played like every week for Genoa over the last 6 or 7, except for the week when we went heavy on an
Yeah,
over. And I think it ended in a goalless draw.
it did.
Incredibly,
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
like Murphy's
But
law.
there were about 40 shots in that game, and
Yeah,
nearly
on
3
it
goals. So
there was 38 shots and a combined XG. I think it was over 3 in that
yeah,
game. By the way,
yeah.
so anyways, I'm
You've
not
got two.
bitter. Not bitter at all.
You've got two of the best teams for goals this season. Inter's games averaging 3.2, Genoa 2.7. Genoa have got the joint best over 2.5 strike rate this season. They've got the best since the managerial change. So I've got full confidence in the over in the 2.75 being hit. And Inter, they're going to need to bounce back. I mean, the embarrassing result in midweek, getting knocked out of the Champions League already. They need to put on a performance. And I think I'm going to take Inter to win and both teams to score at plus 243 because Genoa, they've been very good for goals. I think they've actually scored in, I think it's all bar 3 of De Rossi's games in charge, and he's been in charge for about, I think it's 19 or 20 now. So they find the net very, very regularly, and Inter have shown that they are susceptible. They concede chances, they concede goals. Yeah, I mean, Pisa went there and scored twice, which says it all, really. So I think Genoa can get on the score sheet, but ultimately will get blown away by Inter because Genoa do play such a front foot style. I think Inter will pick them off. So Inter win both teams to score at plus 243, and yeah, taking the overs as well, which is a slightly safer play.
Okay, just one play for me, one official play for me. Como win to 0 over Lecce. If you're just like a casual bettor, like just sometimes you just need to like bookmark things in your brain so you know what to do. Bet against Levante in La Liga. Bet against Lecce in Serie A. Lecce dead last just in terms of they've scored 17 goals across league play this season. They have 1 win away from home and the lowest expected goal total with 8.38 in 12 away games. They're going to Como, who've only conceded 9 goals at home. Como continued to be a great story, coming off a clean sheet against Juventus away last week when they had 2 games in quick succession. Home has been a really good place for Como as well. They've only lost twice all season long. Como win to 0 at plus 113 is a great bet from where I sit. Okay, to the Bundesliga we go. Maybe the biggest game of the weekend is Der Klassiker. It is Borussia Dortmund hosting Bayern Munich. This game there would have been a lot more juice in it if Dortmund hadn't drawn RB Leipzig last week and ended up in a 2-2 final. So now there's an 8-point gap. So this is must-win territory for Borussia Dortmund. Incredibly, Dortmund are 8 points back of Bayern Munich, and they've only lost once. And that was to Bayern Munich. Like over the last 43 or 44 matches in the Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund have only lost 1 game. Yet, not surprising, this match on Saturday, Bayern Munich are a considerable favorite. Dortmund to win outright, plus 337. Like I said, in what's a virtual must-win for them. And the handicap is set at 3/4 of a goal in favor of Bayern Munich. The total is at 3.75 for this one as well, which honestly, the total seems potentially a little bit low here, especially considering the way that Bayern Munich plays. As crazy that is. I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up hitting 4 at some point, but you can get the over with a little bit of juice at plus 104. So we'll see how the market might shift or change ahead of kickoff. How do you see this playing out this weekend, Jake?
Yeah, it's hard to look past Bayern Munich, really. I mean, they've had the benefit of midweek rest. Obviously, Dortmund, their job is not yet done. They have to go to Italy in the Champions League. I actually thought Bayern's price at minus 143 was a little bit on the big side, if I'm being honest. I think that they've shown all season long that they are far superior to Dortmund. You throw in the rest advantage, the fact that they are getting players back, then I think that there is a chance that they go there and kind of win the league there. But I ultimately just sat on the fence and just said, I'm not going to make a bet in this one because I could. Usually, I like to lean unders in these games because of the because of the really high goal total and the kind of jeopardy.
These two teams playing one another. It's brought goals.
So ultimately, I've settled with a no bet. But I wouldn't be at all surprised if Dortmund did kind of shock us because they have the capability to. But I would be leaning Bayern Munich.
Yeah, no official play for me. If I was to make one, gun to my head, it would probably be Borussia Dortmund team total over a goal and a half at plus 126. The frailties in Bayern Munich setup is the fact that they're playing their backup goalkeeper right now. I mean, Manuel Neuer hasn't been great, but in a game like this, 22-year-old goalkeeper, we'll see how he fares. I just think there's a soft underbelly to this Dortmund or to this Bayern Munich team, the way that they're structured defensively, especially when they start mounting lots of pressure. If you have proper counterattacking football, which I think Borussia Dortmund do, with the ability to score goals, they can be carved apart. And that's the way forward against Bayern Munich. I'm not the biggest Upamecano fan. I think he's erratic. I think Ta is fantastic. Alphonso Davies is back out injured, the left back. Leimer's not fully fit at right back. That would be the way that I go about slicing this one, just over the team total for Borussia Dortmund. Elsewhere in the Bundesliga, anything piquing your interest?
Yeah, I was surprised to see Hamburg available to back on the handicap at a quarter of a goal head start plus even money. This is a team that have only lost 2 games at home all season. They've made their home base a real fortress. 5 wins, 4 draws. And Leipzig have been a little bit flaky recently. They've not been able to put teams away. Draw away at St. Pauli, lost at home to Mainz, and they obviously had that good win at Köln, but draw to Wolfsburg, who again are another struggling team. And then obviously that last-minute goal against Dortmund last week was a kick in the teeth. But yeah, Hamburg are a very, very difficult team to play against. They're on a very good run as well. They don't lose many matches. I mean, even in the last 10 across home and away games, only 2 defeats. So I think that backing them plus a quarter, we get half a bet on a draw and a bet, half a bet on them to avoid defeat. If they avoid defeat, we're making money. And I think that's a very, very high chance of happening here.
Okay. Anything else, or is that it?
That's all for me.
Okay. I want to get back on side with Hoffenheim. Let me down last week. It was away. Away sides at some of the, like, Cologne's been a tough place to play. You mentioned Hamburg, tough place to play. Like, some of these bottom half of the table sides have brought something, good atmospheres in their home stadiums as well. It's been difficult, but Hoffenheim at home against St. Pauli is a different story. The best way that you can slice it from where I sit again, Hoffenheim win to 0. They're due for a clean sheet. They've conceded some cheap goals in recent weeks. By the way, last week, like, the bicycle kick opener for Cologne was incredible. Then they scored another goal completely on the counterattack. Hoffenheim to win to 0 is at plus 152. St. Pauli isn't a very good attacking side, just 9 attacking goals away from home all season long. So that's the best way. And second to the bottom in expected goals away from home in St. Pauli, 1 win, 2 draws, 9 losses in their away travels on the season thus far. And the other lean would be Leverkusen at home to Mainz. Leverkusen's a good defensive team, and we saw it. I mean, Olympiacos did very little to threaten them from an attacking perspective, but I wouldn't mind having a nibble on under the team total for Mainz at 0.5. So Mainz to fail to score. Yes, at plus 178. I do think that there's some value. Leverkusen's been very stingy under this new regime, under this new manager. So that would be kind of the way that I would approach that, which makes me feel uncomfortable betting on teams not to score in the Bundesliga because it's very rare. But those would be my 2 leans, but no official play. If I was to like one more than the other, it would be the Hoffenheim win to 0. All right, we've gone overtime. Our fine producer, Ben Barkley, is going to be screaming bloody murder at us for going so long. So here we go. What's making your board this week? Up to 5 units to spend on up to 5 bets to make.
Yeah, I'm going to take some dogs in the Premier League.
Let's go.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to be taking, Nottingham Forest plus a quarter of a goal away at Brighton at plus 108. I'm going to take West Ham plus 1.25 at Liverpool at plus 105.
Not making the official swing big.
The big swing. Well, I was considering it, but I think the handicap is just so big. I'd probably have it at 3/4 of a goal, given the way in which West Ham are playing and given how Liverpool don't put teams away. So yeah, I think there's a lot of juice in the West Ham handicap price. I'm going to take Elche minus a quarter against Espanyol at plus 108. I'm going to take a unit on one of the games you suggested, actually, the Mallorca Sociedad game. I missed that one. I'm going to take the goal line, but I'm going to bump it up to 2.5 at plus 115. The line's up at 2.25. And then my final unit, I'm going to go Inter to win and both teams to score against Genoa at plus 243. So I'll take a bit of a bigger price, but all my bets this week are plus money, which is nice.
Okay. Let's not be Spursy. Fulham plus 112 against Tottenham. Barcelona, both teams to score no and win at plus 192. Mallorca Sociedad over 2.25 at minus 114. Elche Espanyol over 2.5 at plus 103. And Como to win to nil at plus 113. Bet against Levante, bet against Lecce. That's it for this week. Oh, by the way, a unit on each. Make sure you follow along across Pinnacle on social media, our Instagram, on Twitter as well, our subreddit, Pinnacle Sportsbook, there to be part of the conversation. And we always appreciate any of your comments that you make, no matter how you're consuming. Please get involved in the conversation. Hit that like button. Please subscribe as well, as it helps this podcast do our thing. On behalf of Jake, I am Gareth, and this has been episode 82 of Pinnacle FC.